Hello my dears, welcome back and welcome if you're new. Today we have a couple of DIY makeovers, the fireplace and a thrifted French countryside. This is the fireplace in the living room. This one we made when we moved in because the room was a lot of wall space, no fireplace, and I think it needed something. So this is something that we made. We made it because obviously we were doing renovations when we first moved in. So we made it kind of quickly and it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I wanted it a little bit more ornate. So it was quite basic. I wanted something now that's more French country, and I have these little cherubs and I was thinking initially to put those on, paint them white, and then I have another piece that I would fit in the center, and then put the embellishments all around them and obviously paint them all white. But I'm not going to do that now because obviously we're going to have to move it. We're taking us with us to the rental, and then eventually when we get the house it will go in the living room there. So these are the little pieces that I've made. I'm going to go into what I've done with those, and though that's what I'm going to add to the fireplace. So it's going to be a little bit less French country, more English, almost Edwardian. So these are the molds that I'm going to use. The creative paper clay, both picked up from Amazon. It's the first time I'm using both of them, so we're learning together here. The molds are made of silicone, and these are also, you can buy these, they're very similar to the ones that you get for cooking, embellishing cakes and whatever, making for icing. But these are high temperature, so I think it's for resin or this paper clay. So what you do is, obviously once you take this paper clay out of the bag, it does dry up quite quickly. So you have to reseal it. So you're not going to use all of it, not in this particular, for this particular job. So having watched the videos, they recommend that you cornstarch or baby powder is the same thing. Fill the little molds just so that it's easier release. So that's what I'm doing now. I've taken an old makeup brush and I'm just dusting in all of the little places to make sure that when the paper clay goes in that it won't stick. So the mould is dusted. I just emptied out the extra little bits, and we're ready to go. So I've unsealed the bag, and you just kind of roll it between your hands, your fingers, to make it quite supple. It's quite wet when you open it up, so you're literally going to force it into the mould and then get it as clear as you can, as flat as you can once you're done. So this is what we're doing here. We're just pushing it into the mould. Again, making sure that you're getting it all the way in, because you want a nice print, a nice mould release once it's done. So it's all pressed in, and what I've done here is I've taken an old butter knife and I'm just kind of scraping it one way and then back, and it's giving you a nice clean finish on top. But it's also forcing the clay into the mould. Tried a couple of different ways to get these out, and of course as time went by it got a lot easier. So what I did was I did sideways and got this one out sideways, but they did break apart. Having said that, when they do fit together very easily, I scrapped that one and decided to go with one style, a repeat of the one style. So I did 16 of one style, and then I think I did 4 of the one next to it, which was like almost like an ivy leaf repeat. And then for the pattern that I'd chosen, I needed more of one style than the other, and then this is what I ended up with. I made these little shapes. There is a name for them, it's not coming to me at the moment. And again, I did like 16 repeats of the one style, and then I did 4 so that I had the ivy leaves. So as they laid, you lay them as flat as you possibly can, as straight as you possibly can. About 6 hours in, I turned them over and tried to keep them as flat because they do have a tendency to curl. So everything was as flat as it possibly could be, and 24 hours to dry. So the next day I got back to the fireplace and I measured all the halfway points, all the relevant points that I needed, and marked it with a pencil. I was going to be going over it with the paint, so the pencil marks won't be seen afterwards. What I did use was this wooden piece. You can buy these in various places. This is one I thrifted a while ago. I have different thrifted pieces, but this was the one. I wanted something substantial in the middle to ground the design, right in the center. It was a nightmare to get on. It really needed to be tacked on with the nails, but I didn't have the nail gun. My husband had it, so I did use the Gorilla hot glue, which normally works brilliantly, and it did stick it on. It just wouldn't keep it because there was a slight bow in the wood. But I did it. I got it on there, and I was going to ask my husband then to just put a couple of little nails in to keep it in place, but I decided afterwards it was a little big, so I've ordered another piece. And the beauty of using this glue is it literally will peel off. So I have got another piece that I'm going to put in the center, but for now it is what it is, and it stayed where it is. So once I'd got everything marked up and I decided on the pattern that I wanted, it was a matter of gluing everything down and making sure that it all matched as we went along. Some of the little pieces were still a little damp on the back, so they didn't always stick quite as well as they should have done, but by the end of it they all stuck and there was no issue. So the top part of the fireplace was complete. I then started on the side. Again, I'd measured and had markings where everything needed to go, and then it was just a matter of, again, having a pattern and then repeating it on the other side, which is what we did. And once that was done, it was ready for painting. So everything's been stuck on. I haven't gone round and filled it with silicone or anything because most of it's sitting quite flat. It's turned out quite well. The only thing I have an issue with is this center swag, which again I'm going to be replacing, but for now it's getting painted with the rest. So I've got the same trim paint, which is Benjamin Moore Advance, I believe it is. It's a white semi-gloss, and we're just going to go over it a good couple of times just to make sure that it's all blended with the original fire. This is it with one coat of the paint, and it looks fine. But what I decided to do was, as I went over it, you have to stipple it because obviously there's a lot of little nooks and crannies that you need to get the paint into. But as I did it, some of it it filled in the holes and the gaps, and honestly, I thought if I go over it again with another really heavy coat, it will look like it's been there forever and it's been painted over and painted over. And that's kind of the look that I was going for. So this was the paint that I used. And again, it was Benjamin Moore Advance. And this is an absolutely amazing paint. I try and get Benjamin Moore as much as I possibly can. It's just such a good paint. So this is the first coat, and we're going to go, I'll show you what it looks like with the second coat. You just have to keep going back over it and making sure that you catch all the drips. So you can see I'm sort of stippling it on, forcing it into all the little nooks and crannies. And then what I'm doing afterwards, because there are a certain amount of drips because it's going on quite heavy, I am then going over it with a drier brush. And I've done this 2 or 3 times. Actually, I did it twice over the whole thing, and then just went back 3 or 4 times just to wipe the drips. Now, you can see the brush strokes here, but it does, once it's been wiped over a few times with the drier brush to get rid of the drips, you don't see the brush strokes anywhere near as much as you think you would. So this is the finished piece, and to be honest, I don't mind the centre swag as much as I thought I would. I think I'm still going to wait and see when it comes in. It's just a piece that I've ordered off Amazon. I'm going to see how it looks when it comes in, but I'm not unhappy with how it looks overall. It does look like it's been there forever. It doesn't look like it's made out of the paper clay and just been glued on. It's turned out very, very nice. Again, it's not as ornate as I would like. Next time around I will go with more ornate pieces and go for a more French country look. This to me is more of an Edwardian, you know, that you would get in the old Edwardian houses, which were a lot more low-key than the fancy Victorian or French country style, but I'm very pleased with how it's turned out. Now I also think that I achieved the look that I was going for. It's not in your face, it's not over the top. It looks as though this fireplace has been there for a while, it's been painted over a few times, and it doesn't look out of place with the house at all. So again, when we finally move into the new place, hopefully we'll give it another bash and we'll see how it turns out. But for this part, I'm pleased with it. The next DIY is French Country wall plaque makeover. This was something that I picked up a few weeks ago. I think it was $4. It is made of resin, and even looking at it now, it's not that bad. I just found it didn't really look genuine. It looked plastic almost. So the look I was going for was almost a look of concrete, but aged concrete. So what I've done is I've taken a few different colours. I've got strangely enough, a very light pink. I've got a browny blacky colour, and I've got this silver paint that I've used a lot. So first thing of all is obviously I'm going to paint the whole thing in this silver base coat. Now it's shiny, but it's not going to matter. You are not really going to see this. You'll see it in spots, but if you think about aged concrete, it does almost shine in spots where it's been worn down. So this is the look I'm going for, is an aged concrete, because this is going to go out in the garden in the new house, and it's going to be either on a wall or by the little fountain that I've had for many years, and it's going to have that look. Well, hopefully it'll have the look that I'm going for. What I'm doing is I'm making almost like my own chalk paint, but it's like I want to give it the texture and the feel of concrete. So what I've done is I've taken a little bit of baking soda and put it in with the brown paint, and so I'm going to speckle this on to give it more texture. I did 1 tablespoon of the baking soda, and then I did 2 tablespoons of paint, and then I added a little bit more paint because it was quite stodgy, but that's what you want. You want something quite thick It's almost like that salt paint that you can buy, but if you don't have it, you can make all these things at home. That's how they came to be. People's trial and error. You can use whatever, you can use sand, you can use whatever you have at hand. It's just I had baking soda and this, so this is what I used. So I have my silver base coat, then I've gone over it with this brown muddy sludge, and again you're just speckling it on, you're forcing it into all the little nooks and crannies. You're making it, you're layering now. That's what you're doing. You're giving this an aged look, and you can add more, you can take away. This is not an exact science. You make it look how you feel. If you've done the silver and you like the look of the silver, leave it silver. If you do the brown and you like that, you don't have to do all these different layers. You stop when you think it looks, you've achieved the look that you want. The next is you take a smaller paintbrush. This is with the white or the pink or whatever you've got, and I'm literally just splattering it on in little spots. It's giving it, again, it's giving it depth. I then take the same paintbrush and I've dipped it in a mixture of the silver and the brown, and I'm just rubbing it on the highlighted pieces so you can see the welcome. You've got the elbows, the hair, the arms, all the little raised pieces. I've now got slight highlights of the silver, and then I'm going over it with a damp cloth just to blend again, and this gives it the appearance of worn and highlighted concrete, you know, when it's very old and it gets quite shiny because it's been used that much, and that's what the look I was going for. So here's the finished piece. I think it looks like stone or concrete, and because it's heavy, again because it's made of resin, it's hard to tell. I'm going to give it 2 clear coats. I have a spray clear coat. I'm going to do it in a matte, and that will go in my garden when we move, so I shall be happy to show you that when the time comes.